G'day everyone and welcome back. We've got another episode in the lead up to Team Champs. We have finally transitioned to the Premier Bracket teams. I interviewed Victor Liu the other day and now we've got Jacob Roberts representing Stronghold Ballarat on. How are you going, Jacob?
Yes, good, thanks. Yeah, glad to be here.
Good. I'm looking forward to speaking to you. Now we're
Yeah.
speaking just before I hit record, and we had a bit of commentary about how long you've actually been around powerlifting, which is quite a long time. But I
Yeah.
suspect there'd be a lot of people who don't know much about you. They might recognize your face from a few comps. Obviously, you guys are out in Ballarat, so outside of the Melbourne scene a little bit. But you've been involved in powerlifting for like 8 years now.
Yeah, so I started originally back at Ben's Army in 2018, which, funny, I was thinking the other day, I think the first comp I ever actually went to was the 2018 Team Champs. Like as a spectator, obviously, but yeah, that was the first comp I went to. So it's cool to finally be a part on the other side, I suppose, of the platform, right?
That's actually such an interesting way to look at it. You know, like comes full circle. I think that's the year that Ben competed, right?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, we had a few lifters at the time then. So, yeah, I'd started, I think, in October of 2018, and then Team Champs was in that December. So, yeah, it was pretty cool. So,
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're going to be the head coach for the Stronghold Ballarat team this year?
yes, yeah. So I've been head coach here at the gym since its inception 3 years ago. So I handle most of the athletes here, and obviously oversee a lot of the training that happens. I'm out on the gym floor every day. So I was going to do it last year too, but unfortunately I was away visiting family. So I was stuck to just watching via the stream, which was really difficult. So it's nice to have a bit more control on the day this year.
Excellent, excellent. And Stronghold Ballarat has undergone a little bit of change over the last few years. So obviously it was previously Ben's Army,
Yep.
changed owners, became Stronghold Ballarat, and more recently has had a few more changes. Do you want to kind of update people that are listening, the community, as to what the changes are that's going on at Stronghold?
So currently we've just had Chris take a step back. So Chris, one of the owners, Chris White and Jason Oakley. So Chris has just, he did have a other full-time job as well. So it was more of a silent partner within the business, kind of helped with more of the background stuff. But since leaving his other full-time job, he's decided to have a bit of a change of pace. Bought himself a new car, a new caravan, and he's taken off around the country. So it'd just be Jason and I holding down the fort.
That'll be awesome, man. That's awesome. I think everybody, I mean, anybody that's been involved in powerlifting in Melbourne over the last 5 years, or even in Australia wide, would probably know Chris White's face. And so
Yes.
good for him. Looking forward to his retirement and having a fun time. Look, we're here to talk about Team Champs. Stronghold Ballarat are in the Premier Bracket. Qualified a couple of years ago after the 2024. In the 2024 edition, they lifted in the Challengers Bracket. This is a bit of context for everybody else. They lifted in the Challenge Bracket in 2024, did well, made it to the Premier Bracket, survived the Premier Bracket last year because there was a bit of an onslaught from lots of teams.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because Team Champs isn't old enough to have history and have all these stats and stuff. But I do think there was something a little bit historic that happened last year where, for example, Melbourne Uni, they actually qualified into the Premier Bracket, even though they didn't finish top 4 on day one. They qualified. So there's lots of strong teams in the challenges making a run for the top class. Stronghold survived. You guys are in the Premier Bracket again this year. You have a really strong team, and you're the head coach. Can you give us a bit of a rundown of each of the lifters? Maybe we'll go one by one, relatively slowly.
Yeah.
Bit of a chat about who they are, what their training's like, how involved you are in their training. I know a lot of them might have other coaches and whatnot, but maybe let's have a bit of a preview as to who these lifters are for representing Stronghold.
Yep. Yeah. So we've got Tyson Andrews, Corey Rowe, Toby Taylor, and George Alex. Tyson's someone who's been around a long time, obviously, and is very much one of those guys that has just consistently gotten better over years, right? Like he hasn't come out of nowhere. This is a guy that's put in the work consistently and just continued to get better. Looking at the current, like the other 105s, we're pretty confident in what he's going to be able to accomplish on the day. He is looking really strong at the moment. Towards the start of the prep, we weren't sure how well he'd hold up. He was coming off a bit of a back injury. But yeah, how fast he's bounced back has been crazy.
Tyson, as you said, is someone that's been around the traps. I think he did his first comp in 2018. He's done 2 team champs in the past. I think the last 2 years, actually. Very good lift. He's in the 105 kilo class. his biggest rival was going to be Hung Fan, so I'm sure there was a little bit of a wave of relief when we saw Hung Fan get withdrawn.
Yeah. No, that was quite nice. I think that put us in a really good spot. Looking at the last change of nominations, I think they definitely fell in our favour. So yeah,
In the 105s, or are you talking about in the broader scheme of things?
Both, yeah. Obviously, we knew Hung was going to be not one we'd probably beat on the day. But yeah, with his absence, it puts us in a really good spot for that class.
Now, Tyson is coached by, his name has escaped me right now, not yourself.
Adam?
Adam, of course.
Adaptive Training Systems?
Yeah,
I'm not sure Adam's surname.
Adam Reed.
So yeah, he's been
how involved are you in Tyson's training? Do you guys train together? Does he train? He obviously trains at Stronghold. Do you see?
Yep.
Are you involved and paying attention that way?
Yes, so I am here, obviously different coach, but I am here for most of his sessions, I'd say, during the week. Like keeping an eye on all his training, spotting him, that kind of thing. And going from there. Yeah, so I see him, all the time.
Good one. So probably one of the favourites in the 105 kilo class, again, especially considering Hung Fan's departure from the class. Mm-hmm. Apologies to everybody, by the way. I have a sore throat, so if I leave a chat and just go on a coughing fit, I'll mute my mic and let Jacob just keep talking. His closest rival, I imagine, going to be Dean Chen. I'm not really quite familiar with some of these other lifters like Sam Burberry, how strong he's going to be. I know Haynes Crosley on day one will be pushing for a 700 kilo total, but Tyson's a little bit beyond that as well.
Yeah.
But it does feel like that Tyson is the man to beat in that 105 class.
Yep, for sure. That's the way we see it as well.
Okay, who's our second lifter representing Stronghold?
George Alex, we'll say. We got very lucky with George. It was one of the things, originally he came in for us in the last round of nominations. We did have Jason Oakley in that class in the 120 pluses. And unfortunately he injured himself last week. So it was a bit of a mad 24 hours trying to figure out what we were going to do and where do we go from here. But I kind of had one name in my mind of who I wanted to give that spot to, and it was George. So I approached him, within 24 hours of us realising Jason wasn't going to bounce back from this kind of thing. And it was funny because he was originally planned to do a comp on the weekend of Team Champs. So it worked out really well in the way that he's already peaked and, he was ready to go, basically. It couldn't have worked out better. Obviously, he's since pulled out of that other comp. But it was a conversation of, hey, I know you've got a comp in Sydney on the Saturday, but what are you doing on the Sunday? Like jokingly. And he's like, leave it with me. Got back to me the next day. And he was, luckily able to pull out of that other comp, which I think he's very excited for. Team Champ seems to be one of those bucket list comps for him. So he seems pretty keen to be able to cross that off. Are you muted? Sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, just to give a little bit of context to everybody. So Jason Oakley was initially nominated in the 120 kilo plus category, and at the final changes, which was a week ago now, so 3 weeks out, had to withdraw. And George Alex was subbed in. I think a lot of people would know George, 74 kilo class lifter, quite a strong lifter. What was the comp that he was signed up for in Sydney?
I can't remember the name of it. I think it was Alpha something.
Okay, so like a local meet in Sydney.
Yeah.
Okay, that works out really well. I guess my next question I want to ask you about that is, do you guys have subs? Like, were you? Because I didn't know what the context was around the change. A lot of these changes that came in at the last minute, a lot of those had been decided 3 weeks before the changes. But they obviously keep those cards close to their chest. But it sounds like you're saying that it was a mad dash, not a lot of notice, and you maybe didn't have backups and plan B, plan C lifters there.
It was more so, who could we get that would be the most competitive based on the current lineup of nominated lifters, right? We didn't just want to throw anyone in. We were kind of looking at where could we slip someone in who would still find us the points that we needed. And with George here, obviously being a very strong 74 kilo lifter, there did seem to be our best opportunity there to try and get a few more points. So we're pretty lucky.
Oh, absolutely. Now, before we go on, I do want to quickly interrupt our conversation and give a big shout out to our major sponsor, Symmetry Physiotherapy. If you've been following us, you know that Symmetry Physiotherapy have jumped on as our major sponsor. There are 9 clinics based in Melbourne. The closest ones to us, Taylors Lakes and Ascot Vale. We liaise quite closely with Ascot Vale, being in Maidstone. Megan Keeley is a physiotherapist that we deal with the most there. We send, when I say we, I'm talking about the Strength Fortress. We send all of our members there. She takes good care of them, communicates really well. We have a really great relationship with them. And so it was a very natural fit when we said, hey, we're looking for a sponsor. Do you guys want to jump on? And they were enthusiastic to do it. They're going to have a clinic there. So if Jason has a break between coaching, Jason Oakley, he can come and see the physiotherapist. They'll take care of him and give him their opinion. There is a discount code. They've got an offer. I forget what the offer is, but there'll be a link in the description of this video on YouTube if you're watching it on YouTube, or in the show notes on whatever podcast format you're listening. So big thanks to Symmetry for sponsoring Team Champs this year. Now, going back to our conversation, does George Alex train it in Ballarat? I didn't even know this because I know he moves around a lot.
So he moved up earlier this year. He's currently working in the area, so he's only recently moved. So I think Team Champs has been a good opportunity now to, obviously I knew George in passing, I'd met him a few times. Working at the hospital, sometimes the times at which he comes in doesn't exactly line up with when I'm here. But this last week or so has been a good opportunity to get to know him a bit better, which has been really nice, and try and get him a bit more involved with training with a few of the other boys on the team.
Yeah, excellent. And he's in the 74 kilo class. As you said, you're trying to find someone that you thought would be really competitive. And I think you've found a good fit because, the 74s are actually quite a strong group. Like there's a lot of decent lifters, but there's no Hung fans. There's no Tony Reinmuths.
Originally, when we looked at it, Aaron Tran was in there and we had thought, we're pushing for second. But with the latest round of changes with Hung and Aaron Tran both being out, it's put us in a really good spot moving forward.
Let's go. That must have been a massive relief because those changes come at the same time. So there is a little bit of a bit of a potluck in that sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So it looking like pretty good for Stronghold Ballarat. I think you mentioned earlier that a lot of these changes suit you guys. And I think that's the sentiment that I've been getting from a lot of other coaches. Stronghold Ballarat are one of the teams to beat, to be honest, because you got good chances with Tyson Andrews. You got good chances with George Alex. Who's your third lifter?
We've got Corey Rowe. Corey's still a junior.
He's in the 93s?
Yes, 93 kilo lifter. Yep. Recently competed at APA Nationals, and he is coached by Jack down at Compound in Tassie. It's been pretty crazy to watch the progress Corey has made over the last 6 to 12 months, especially under Jack's hand. He's kind of just gone ballistic. Corey's one of those guys that you can just kind of throw anything at and he eats it up. Like he's just a bit of a genetic anomaly in that way, I suppose. Before Jack took him on as a client, Corey was training 7 days a week. He was the kind of guy that you'd see, he'd compete one day and he'd be back in the gym the next. Not many people could handle what Corey can handle. So the rate of progression at which he's going through currently has just been crazy.
And you mentioned that he competed at Nationals recently. I presume that's a junior Nationals, right? The one that was like a month ago. We actually have quite a lot of lifters that are trying to back up junior Nationals into Team Champs. Same thing happened last year. I mean, you guys had Tracy Keogh, obviously my lifter, do the Mega Nats and then come back 6 weeks later. Corey did really well at that competition. Like you said, he totaled 730 plus.
Yeah.
It is a short turnaround. What do you see from his training? How's he faring?
He's moving some weight now. Things was obviously kind of a bit of a deload post Nats. But I also don't think they peaked him as hard as originally planned for Nationals to kind of save a bit in the tank for Team Champs.
Wow.
So they knew in terms of how competitive he'd be at Nationals that he probably wasn't going to come away with a first or second. So it was better saving that in the tank a little bit and pushing a bit harder come Team Champs.
Now, the 93 kilo category is a deep class. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lifters. You've got good lifters in there like Richard Charlick, Charlie Sanders is in there, Justin Polychronopoulos from Elemental. Going back to our discussion about the recent changes, the 93s did lose a really strong lifter in Tony Nguyen. So Tony Nguyen was initially nominated for Summit Strength. He's withdrawn. on a similar kind of ballpark with Corey. So that's probably another one of those changes that you're talking about, where okay, that eases the pressure on us.
Yeah. Again, I think it puts Corey in a really good position to take that class out. I think, especially at the rate he's progressing now, and I think we'll be on track, despite the short turnaround, to still chip a few PBs come team champs. I think provided he goes 9 for 9 on the day and the rest of prep goes well, I think he'd be really hard to beat.
I love to hear it.
Great to watch.
Yeah, I love to hear it. And your fourth lifter is in the 120 kilo class, Toby Taylor.
Yes, Toby. So Toby's, I believe, only 19. This will be his first comp with APA. Transitioning, he did APL Nationals last year. So we've decided to take that time and be take a bit off season, because we knew he wouldn't be eligible for APA Nationals. So we decided to take the extended off season and put some size on. But he is ordinarily a 105 lifter, so he's walking around a little heavy at the moment just to fill in that class. Obviously, we already had Tyson in the 105s nominated. So, Toby's walking around. He'll come in as a very lightweight 120. But again, considering his age and the fact that he doesn't fill the weight class out, I think he has the potential to put up a really big total, a really competitive total in that class. Sorry, you muted again.
Now, the 120 kilo class is obviously an open field, probably headed, in my opinion, by Charles Kafusi, who's going to take out that class. I think he won it last year. You mentioned that Toby will put up a competitive class. What are you guys gunning for here? Are you going to get on the podium? I mean, it's clear that you might drop some points in this field. Yeah,
we're probably looking. We are chasing podium, hoping to battle for maybe second. Okay. Given all in all, training seems to be moving well for him. I think with the progress we've made since last comp, we can realistically expect a second place finish on the day, provided the rest of the prep goes well.
Now, in the lead up to this competition, especially in the first nominations, initial nominations, I think everybody had their spreadsheets out, everybody doing the calculations, pulling out nominations. I saw it as a 3-horse race. It was elemental, it was process powerlifting, and it was compound.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of changes recently, since that first nomination 8 weeks ago or 12 weeks ago. Do you feel that Stronghold Ballarat are now the team to beat?
Look, we're still, like you said, we're a few weeks out, right? And originally coming into this was a matter of we just wanted to maintain our standing in the Premier bracket. That's what we were looking for originally. But as things have changed up a little bit, again, we're a ways out. But if there's conversations being had regarding who's going to come out on top on the weekend, I think they would be remiss not to think of us. Okay? I'm pretty confident in the team we're bringing this year, provided all goes well.
There must be a lot of excitement in that group chat once those changes came out. Would you say that's your goal? Is that the thing that you're looking at? How important is it to get on the podium? How important is it to take out the win? Or are you the kind of person to try to settle everyone down and be like, hey, you've got an all-boys crew. Boys, eyes down, just get the job done, just do the lifting, and where we land is where we land.
Yeah, look, again, like I said, we're still a few weeks out. Anything could happen, right? It's not like we were expecting Jason's injury. It just kind of happens. Ideally, nothing like that will happen to everyone else. Obviously, choose to be optimistic about the situation. And it's not like there can't be any more nominations. It's just a matter of they would incur penalties were it to happen, right? So I'm trying not to get too hung up on the idea as of right now. But I got faith that the boys could bring it home, should the occasion arise. I know it's not necessarily the goal for everyone. Tyson was joking earlier in the week. So basically, between the 4 boys, the team has an average dots is around 470, right? So everyone's pretty close together. So Tyson had joked earlier in the week that he just needs to total whatever it takes to beat Corey on dots by 1. Like he just needs to stay ahead of him, kind of thing, right? So that's been quite fun. A lot of the boys have been training together these last few weeks of the night. So it's nice to have a bit of a back and forth there. So it's not just competition towards the other teams. It's a bit of a race to kind of who could have the highest dots post-comp, which has been fun.
That will be an interesting one. Like a lot of those boys are very close. I do find it funny that Tyson, being an old man now, is just so tied to his dots instead of looking at the GL points, which is what we're using. But
Yeah.
nevertheless,
Yeah, Corey keeps bringing up the GL, and Tyson's like, I don't want to hear it. Like, I'm just looking at dots.
I love that. I love that. Hey, look, just a quick reminder to everyone that's listening. You've only got another couple of days to buy tickets to our after party, which is the tickets are on sale right now. They close on the Friday, the 22nd of May. This podcast is going to go out today, the 20th of May. So if you haven't bought your tickets already, go buy them. The ticket includes some food, includes a drink. All the money goes back into the bar. There's no profits being made by Groove Lifting or by us. So go buy your tickets. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a great way to round out that weekend. I do want to ask you before I let you go, Jacob, what are your major predictions? Have you looked at the challengers bracket? Is that something you pay attention to? Like, you've obviously got to look at the lifters because you kind of know who you're fighting. But do you know much about those teams there? Or you really
Not
only focused on the day two?
I know Tyson's worked out a bit of a spreadsheet to help us make predictions as we get a bit closer. Looking at a few more estimated training totals and where we think people will place and get into the nitty gritty, probably a bit closer to the day. Again, I think process and compound are going to be really tough to beat on the day. But yeah, as far as challenges brackets though, I haven't looked too much outside of specific head-to-heads and who we'd face in those classes.
All right, I'm going to make you give me a very clear 1, 2, 3. What's the result of the weekend?
Ooh. Well, we'll say Stronghold, compound, process.
Stronghold on top, baby. That's what we're going to see. Jacob, it's been good to chat to you. Like I said to you before we hit record, mate, you've done a good job in Ballarat. You've improved Ballarat powerlifting, and it wouldn't just be the icing on the cake after an 8-year career to get you guys on top of team champs. Thanks for the time today, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.